I remember that bedroom, my mum and dad's bedroom. It was really, really cold, as was the whole of the house, because it was heated by an open fire that was in the lounge area. But when you went upstairs, because we'd closed the doors to keep the room warm, when we went upstairs, you blew out your breath and you could see it, you could see the mist. So I remember how cold it was. I always wore a nightie, a pink nightie, because that's what girls wore, nighties. And I remember one day begging my mum if I could wear pyjamas. I wanted to be like my brothers. I wanted to wear pyjamas, but, you know, again, don't be silly. Girls wear nighties. And so that's what I wore, and how I hated wearing nighties. So in my mum's bedroom, there was the fire, like I said. That fire reminds me of my uncle. He used to let me have cornflakes because I was his special girl, and in the kitchen with the door closed, so my brothers couldn't see. And then I was allowed to go upstairs and put the heater on, but not to tell my mum. Oh my goodness, if my mum knew they weren't made of money, I would be in so much trouble. Never mind the fact that I'd had extra food. Oh my goodness, they weren't rich, they weren't made of money. So I was really, really frightened that my mum would find out. So like I said, we slept with our socks on because it was so cold in that house. But that fire reminded me of my uncle. And he used to say to me after I'd had my cornflakes, you can go upstairs and put the fire on and get warm for a little while. And he used to let my brothers watch TV for a little bit longer. In my mum and dad's room, there was a big double bed. And as I remember, there was a bedspread on it. I think it had a lion on. And at the bottom of the bed was this electric fire, 2 bars and then a little cage over it. And like I said, I remember this fire. It does remind me so much of my uncle. Even today, at 52, just saying that word fire, I can feel my shins start to burn. So I ate my cornflakes, and my brothers watched TV, and I went upstairs to put the heater on because I was cold and I was allowed to. My uncle let me. How old was I? I'm not sure, but I do know that I hadn't started school yet. I remember that, and I remember my younger brother still being in nappies. Whenever he looked after us, my brothers always went to bed first, and like I said, I was allowed to put the fire on and get warm before I went to bed. So my uncle used to let me go up to my mum and dad's room and put the fire on. I was petrified, absolutely petrified of my mum finding out, because she'd be so angry. Like I said, they weren't made of money, and she would be so cross that not only had I put the fire on, that also I'd had cornflakes. How I hated that electric fire. I used to put it on, and my uncle used to come into my mum and dad's room, and he told me I was special. He told me that he wouldn't tell anybody that I'd put that fire on and that I'd had extra cornflakes. He wasn't going to tell anybody. He wasn't going to let my mum be angry with me. And he used to tell me to lie down to get warm, and so I did. And I remember my legs. I remember how hot they used to get, burning hot from that fire. I remember a horrible pushing down on me, and I remember a buckle, like a brown belt, like a cowboy belt, and it felt hard and it felt sharp and it dug into me. And when my uncle stood up and fastened his belt, I knew I had to turn the fire off and not tell anyone, because if my mum knew I'd had that fire on, I would be in so much trouble.